Hello, family. Welcome to our channel where we bring you exciting story. Please subscribe to this channel because it means so much to us. Kindly like, comment, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our story. Note, you can click on the CC icon on the screen if the subtitle is not showing. Sit back and enjoy.
So I recently dealt with something no homeowner should ever have to say out loud. 3 people trespassed on my property and assaulted my wife. And the reason? A fence hinge. They called it a violation of HOA perimeter standards. I called it none of their business. Funny thing is, the only thing that got reinforced was the line they never should have crossed. Let me start from the very beginning. Before we dive in, let me know where you're watching from today. You ever watch something so wrong, so violent, so close to home, that your body just shuts down? Like your soul steps out for a smoke and forgets to come back? That's what happened the morning 2 HOA enforcers rolled up to our ranch gate. And one of them punched my wife in the face. I was 20 feet away, coffee in hand, and I just watched. It started with Leah's voice. Tight. Controlled. Measured like a fuse right before it burns out. You're not allowed to step onto our land without a warrant. I looked up from the porch, half focused on a busted fence rail. The coffee in my hand had gone lukewarm. The sun hadn't even finished climbing yet. That's when I saw them. 2 men, mirrored sunglasses, tactical polos 2 sizes too tight, smugness worn like a badge and testosterone leaking out their ears. One of them held a clipboard. The other? He just held tension, shoulders rolled forward, arms twitching like the muscles were begging for permission. "We're authorized to enforce code compliance," the short one said. He tapped the badge on his chest like it was real metal and not something a kid wins at a carnival. "For a hinge?" Leah snapped. "You're threatening us over a fence hinge?" Her boots were planted, hands on her hips, hair pulled back tight like she didn't want a single strand to show fear. The tall one stepped forward, boots scraping gravel, a flick of the wrist, hands low, palms open, but ready. "Last warning, ma'am." Leah's voice didn't shake, didn't drop. "Not resisting," she said, "just disagreeing." And then he moved. No more talk, no signal, just a sudden violent swing. His fist cracked across her cheek so hard I heard it over the wind. Leah's body twisted midair. She hit the gravel like someone had yanked her bones out first. By the time I dropped the mug and ran, it was over. Blood smeared her lip, one eye wide and blinking like it couldn't focus. Gravel clung to her skin. Her palms scraped raw from instinctively trying to brace. She wasn't crying, and that's what made it worse. "She got physical," the tall one said, voice flat. I responded with appropriate force. "Appropriate?" I echoed, quieter than I meant. The sound came from somewhere deep, too deep. My fists clenched, my knees bent. But I didn't move, couldn't. Something in my ribs locked up, chest tight, pulse roaring in my ears. My body wanted to lunge, but my mind went somewhere else. 8 years old, kitchen linoleum cold beneath my bare feet, the scent of burnt garlic hanging in the air, a pan on the stove, something bubbling too long. My mother, back turned, trying to fix it before he noticed. He noticed. The tension hit first. The quiet drop in his voice, the sudden weight in the room like the air itself turned against her. A spoon clattered to the floor. She reached for it too slow. He didn't raise his hand, not at first, but the look he gave her, I still remember how it made me flinch. I stepped forward once, said, "Stop." He turned. The silence that followed said more than anything he could have done. He looked at me like I'd broken something sacred and said, calm as a prayer, "See what you made him do?" I didn't speak after that, didn't move the next time the room went still. Didn't know what to do with my hands, even when they were clenched into fists. And now, I was stronger, trained, armed, and still frozen. Leah sat up slow. "You saw that?" she asked. Her voice cracked in a way that made my teeth ache. I nodded, couldn't speak. "So why the hell didn't you stop it?" Her words cut sharper than the hit. I didn't have an answer, because the truth was worse than silence. Then, from across the road, "Now hold on. I said y'all needed to punch up your bylaws, not punch people." Walter, my neighbor, my chaos gremlin, my accidental conscience, doomsday prepper, beekeeper, amateur drone pilot, and proud owner of a bunker he calls the Hobby Shack. He stood on his porch, shirtless, binoculars in one hand, cereal bowl under the other arm like a newborn marsupial. "Leah, you good?" She gave the tiniest nod. "That's what I figured. You've always had a mean right hook, even when it's just words." The two men didn't flinch, no apology, no eye contact, just turned and walked back to their side by side like they'd dropped off mail. And then came the SUV. Dust cloud rising, custom plate. HOA sticker on the windshield like a warning label. Out stepped Karen. If Botox and litigation had a baby, it would dress exactly like her. Blonde, immaculate, unbothered. She scanned the scene, Leah on the gravel, me still motionless, and gave us the same look she probably gives expired yogurt. "I assume you'll want to file a complaint. The board's email is on the newsletter. Check your spam folder." She tapped her phone, didn't wait for a response. "Had you addressed the prior fence violation, this could have been avoided." Walt muttered. "She makes Emperor Palpatine look like a guidance counselor." Then louder, "Don't worry, I'll be listening to the police scanner in case she calls in a drone strike." Karen didn't respond. She drove off like she had brunch reservations with someone else's civil liberties. Leah stood up, slow, guarded, one arm across her ribs. I stepped forward. She flinched. Not big, not dramatic, just enough. Enough to slice me open from the inside. She walked back to the house, arms wrapped around herself like she was holding in what little she had left. And I just stood there, holding nothing but an empty mug, and the kind of shame that etches into your bones. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the porch, bourbon by my boot, knife in my lap. The gravel still disturbed where Leah had fallen. I couldn't stop staring at it. Walt showed up around midnight, 2 beers in hand, ham radio tucked under his arm. "I tapped into their HOA comms," he said. "They're calling you non-compliant. Want to hear the codes?" I didn't speak. He sat beside me. We drank. After a while, he said, "Sometimes it's not the punch that breaks you, it's the one you didn't block." Then he left. I sat there until dawn, fingers white-knuckled around the knife. Not because I planned to use it, but because it was something sharp I could still control. The gravel stayed disturbed, like a scar on the land. And in my head, one question echoed louder than the birds waking up. What happens when a protector waits too long to protect? They walked away like it was nothing, and I let them. But that mistake, they'd only get to make it once. You'd think after a man punched my wife on our land, someone would get arrested, lose their job, face a headline. Hell, at least show up in a meme. But nothing happened. No knock at the door, no apology, not even a call, just silence. Like it never happened at all. 2 days later, we got a notice in the mail. Not through the post office. No, this was personal. Hand-delivered by a teen in a neon vest with HOA Courier scribbled across it in Sharpie like a homemade badge. He didn't make eye contact, just handed me the envelope like it was radioactive and muttered, "Have a better day." Inside, violation of Section 18. A. Unregistered livestock containment alteration. A fine of $275 will be applied if the perimeter gate isn't adjusted to HOA uniform standards within 72 hours. Same fence, same hinge, same rage. Leah didn't say a word when she read it. She just placed it on the counter with surgical precision, turned, walked into the kitchen like the movement was automated, opened the fridge, took out an ice pack, pressed it to her jaw, still bruised, still healing. I followed her in, each step feeling like trespassing in my own home. "Leah, don't." One word, software controlled, final. She opened the silverware drawer, moved a spoon, closed it, opened it again, swapped 2 forks, closed it. Not angry, not even sad, just floating, detached, like she'd pressed pause on being a person. I watched her organize the spice rack next. Alphabetical, labels turned, no skips, no chaos. I couldn't stand the sound of those glass jars clinking. It was too loud and too empty at the same time. "You hungry?" I asked, just to say something. "I ate earlier." "I didn't see you eat." She stopped, turned, looked right through me. "You didn't see a lot of things." That one hit harder than any punch I'd ever taken. That night, she moved into the guest room. Didn't say why, she didn't have to. She left the door open, not as an invitation, more like a warning shot. Meanwhile, Karen was thriving. She posted a full HOA update to the Facebook group titled Operation Neighborhood Order, Quarter 2 Security Realignment. Effective immediately. All properties must submit a perimeter harmony review. Unauthorized gate designs, fencing modifications, lighting fixtures, and reflective livestock tags would be cited. Daily compliance patrols were authorized. They weren't even hiding it anymore. This wasn't about rules, it was about control. The next morning, I spotted 2 new enforcers. Tactical vests, clipboards, matching sunglasses. They circled the far end of our property from the easement, didn't cross the line, just hovered, watched, measured, wrote things down. One of them looked up at me and smiled like we were neighbors at a barbecue. "Just checking setback buffer compliance," he said. "You're real close to the limit." "So are you," I said. He chuckled, wrote something down. Walt called them the HOA Gestapo goons. "They cited me for aesthetic obstruction via bunker porthole symmetry," he said, waving the ticket like a prize. "I told them the only thing obstructing aesthetics around here is Karen's soul." He dropped into a lawn chair beside me. "Reflective glass may cause community glare disruption," he read aloud. "I guess that means I'm shining too bright." I cracked a smile. Barely. Later that night, I sat in the barn with a flashlight and a stack of every HOA notice we'd ever gotten, read them one by one, looking for something, a pattern, a loophole, a weakness. But every paragraph felt like a booby trap dressed as bureaucracy. No matter how carefully I read, I could hear Leah's silence louder than any fine. She passed the window once, didn't slow down, didn't look in, just walked, arms crossed tight like she was the only thing holding herself together. I went inside, found her sitting on the couch, braiding her hair with the kind of focus most people save for bomb disarming. "I need to fix this," I said. She didn't look up, didn't stop braiding. "No," she said finally, "you need to decide who you are. Because right now, I don't think you know." Then she picked up the remote and turned the volume up 1 notch, not 2, just enough to say conversation over. I stood there, staring at the back of her head, wondering how far I'd already lost her. The next morning, Walt pulled up in his camo golf cart like he was prepping for the apocalypse, but forgot it was Tuesday. A drone buzzed behind him like an angry hummingbird on Red Bull. He held a jug of something cloudy under his arm. "I call it kombusta. Half kombucha, half fuel. Cleans the engine and the colon." "You're joking." "Best part," he grinned, "HOA doesn't regulate internal combustion, or intestinal." "Yet," he added and winked. I didn't laugh. He noticed. "They fined me again," he said, "for weaponized composting." I told him it was just enthusiastic gardening. I didn't smile, just sat on the porch. Eventually I asked, "You ever freeze?" He looked over. Serious now, that rare look, like deer in the headlights, like someone gets hurt and you just stand there. Not because you don't care, but because you just can't. He paused, looked out across the pasture, then pointed to a dent in his truck's fender. "My ex put that there, hammer, 2011, missed my skull by 6 inches. I ducked, didn't freeze, but I still remember that half second where I wasn't sure what I'd do." He looked back at me. "That second? It never leaves, but you don't have to live in it either." That line stuck. That night, I watched another patrol hover near our fence line. One of them stopped near the gate, shined a flashlight across the gravel. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just watched. I sat in the dark for hours, hand clenched around the armrest so tight it creaked. The man who froze in the driveway was still inside me. But now he had company, someone colder, someone older, someone waiting for permission to step out. I thought I was just building a case. What I was really building was a line in the dirt, and they just crossed it. The morning after everything shifted, the wind felt wrong. It had that strange stillness before a storm, the kind you can't track on radar, but feel behind your ribs. I was outside tightening the latch on the chicken coop, not because it needed fixing, because my hands didn't know what else to do. Then I saw Walt across the road, waving at me like a lunatic directing air traffic. "You free?" he shouted. Define free. Free enough to learn the HOA may have declared psychological war on you. He held up a hard drive like it was a sermon. High, glorious, ominous. "Got something you need to see?" We headed down into his bunker. He called it the workshop, but it looked like a cross between a militia gift shop and a suburban Area 51. Racks of canned food labeled by mood: happy beans, crisis corn, divorce chili. Solar panels stacked beside water filters. A homemade leaf blower flamethrower rested on a workbench. A mounted squirrel skull wore Ray-Bans. And in the corner, a wall of laminated HOA violations arranged like trophies. Drone caught more than I expected, Walt said, booting up a chunky laptop covered in stickers that read, "Don't tread on me," and asked me about my ham radio. Was just out on a perimeter scan when the punch went down. Didn't realize the mic was live. The screen lit up. Frame, Leah, standing at the gate, arms crossed, posture strong, but guarded. The two officers flanked her, Ray and his shadow, moving like men who wanted a fight but needed a reason. I enhanced the audio using a frequency isolator I built to eavesdrop on raccoon conspiracies, Walt said casually. I'm not even going to ask. Good. You shouldn't. He scrubbed forward, paused, adjusted knobs like a radio operator in a submarine movie. Then we heard it. A crackle, a whisper, buried in static. Use the wife, someone muttered. He'll snap. He always does. My chest didn't rise. Play that again. He did. Again. Use the wife. He'll snap. He always does. Everything in me froze, except my fists. They clenched so hard I felt a tendon crack. Walt, roll it back. Freeze on the guy who said that. He did. Zoomed in, Ray Dobbs, still had the same short beard, combat cut hair, eyes like burned out bulbs. That's Ray Dobbs, I said. The name tasted like rust and gunpowder. We served together, same unit, same mess. Walt turned toward me, serious for once. And now he's working for Karen? I nodded. He wasn't exactly the warm and fuzzy type, was he? I didn't answer, because I wasn't in the bunker anymore. Afghanistan, Ghazni province, dust in my teeth, sweat behind my ears, a mission that wasn't supposed to be loud. Village compound, no weapons expected. We were told it was a meet, not a raid. Ray moved before the go order, kicked the door, yelled something that made the translator flinch. Pop, pop. Two bodies hit the dirt. A woman, a kid. The boy had been holding a shiny pot lid. Ray thought it was a weapon. It wasn't. Ray just stood there, breathing like he saved the world. No remorse, no blink. Later, I filed the report that ended his military career, not out of revenge, but because someone had to say no. I came back to Walt's bunker as he said, so this was never about fences or gate codes. It was a trap, I said, set months ago, built just for me. Walt leaned back, arms crossed, chewing on the edge of a pen like it might give him answers. They were counting on you losing it. Because that's what Ray does, I said. He pushes until something breaks. Did Karen know who she hired? I didn't hesitate. Either she knew and didn't care, or she cared and liked it. He stared at the screen, Ray's face frozen in the frame like it was daring me to blink. Do you think he's done? No. You gonna freeze again? I didn't answer right away. Then, I hope not. Hope's a poor security system, Walt muttered. I recommend tripwires, or emotionally manipulative squirrels. I exhaled, almost a laugh, almost. You have copies of the footage? Hard drive, cloud, flash drive hidden inside a taxidermy possum named Carl. Of course you do. Walt hit pause. Ray's face stared back at me from the monitor, frozen but loud. You've been defending your perimeter, Walt said, but you've been under siege since day one. I didn't go home, not right away. I drove, past the county line, down an old gravel access road where the land feels wide enough to breathe without being watched. I parked, got out. The wind hit me like it remembered who I was before all this. I leaned on the hood and tried to breathe, really breathe, but in my head, all I heard was, use the wife. He'll snap. He always does. How long had this been building? Did Ray find me on his own? Or did Karen go looking? Did they trade stories over wine? Did she laugh about the dead boy with the pot lid? Every HOA fine? Every letter? Every compliance patrol? It wasn't enforcement, it was bait, and I'd taken it. Hook, line, guilt. Back home, the house was still. Leah's door closed, light off. I stood outside it with my hand raised. I wanted to tell her everything. About Ray, about Ghazni, about how the ghosts I buried overseas had followed me home. But how do you confess that the danger she felt in our own driveway was danger I'd unknowingly invited in? I dropped my hand, went outside instead. I sat on the porch, knife in my lap, bourbon bottle beside my boot, the porch light off. A side-by-side rolled past the road. No headlights, no sound, just watching. A few seconds later, Walt's drone rose like a guardian angel with propellers, green LED blinking in the dark. My phone buzzed. Walt messaged 10 o'clock. HOA is watching again. I didn't respond, just stared out at the fence line, then whispered it, just once. Like it wasn't a threat, like it wasn't a promise. Just truth. Not again. They thought they knew how far I'd go. They were wrong. They thought they could use my past against me, but they forgot what happens when you wake up the wrong part of it. There's a moment right before violence where the world forgets to breathe. The air doesn't move. The animals fall silent. The wind pulls back like it knows what's coming. That's what it felt like at sundown. The sky still burned orange, but the land had gone cold. I wasn't on the porch sipping bourbon. I was walking the fence line. No flashlight, no tools. Just gut instinct and a bad feeling in my teeth. The horses were motionless, stiff, eyes wide. That's never good. I moved slow through the overgrown grass, past the feed bins, past the creek bed, toward the north tank, half buried, rarely used. That's when I saw it, a scuffed boot mark in the dirt, fresh, pressed in deep like someone had stopped suddenly, or changed direction. Another print, a snapped branch. Fence wire bent at a weird angle. I crouched low, listening. Silence. But it wasn't clean silence. It was hunting silence. That was the moment I knew. They were already here. I rose, pivoted, and caught a blow to the jaw that spun me halfway around. Stumbled, caught the edge of the gate, barely upright. Before I could reset, a second shadow crashed into my side. My ribs lit up, air gone. Everything rang. "Evening, soldier," a voice said behind me, calm, confident. Ray Dobbs. He stepped into view, like he was on a leisurely stroll, not orchestrating an ambush. "Funny seeing you out here without your clipboard," I spat, regaining balance. "Figured we could skip the paperwork," he said, smirking. "Karen sends her regards." I didn't respond. My heart was hammering, blood in my mouth. Vision narrowed. The second guy, bigger, bulkier, dressed in black, moved in. I sidestepped the punch, caught a glimpse of duct tape brass knuckles. Classy. I ducked the swing and grabbed a loose metal fence latch off the post, swung it hard, connected with the guy's thigh. He yelped, staggered, but stayed upright. Big one. Ray watched, smiling. "You used to hit harder, Ellis." I rushed him, shoulder to gut. We hit the dirt hard, dust in my teeth, pain across my ribs. We rolled, elbows flying. I caught him in the cheek. He drove his knee into my side. He tried to grab my throat. I slammed the fence latch into his hand. He screamed. Then the big guy tackled me from behind. Weight. Dead weight. I collapsed forward, fist to the back of my skull. Stars. That's when it happened. Everything went quiet, and the memory hit like a bullet. Ghazni, a boy, a woman, a flash of silver. Ray's voice screaming, "They looked hostile!" My voice screaming, "Stand down!" Pop, pop. Their bodies crumpled, my pen shaking that night, writing the report that would end his career. My eyes snapped open. Something in me turned off, or maybe it turned on. I twisted under the weight, grabbed a jagged piece of broken gate frame from the dirt, and slammed it into the guy's shoulder. He roared. I rolled free, came up fast, and drove an elbow into his throat. He went down wheezing, clutching his neck. Ray tried to run. Bad move. I caught him by the collar and yanked him back into the mud. We both landed hard. I mounted. Fist, fist, rebar jab, fist again. His blood hit my knuckles like oil, thick, warm, wrong. "This is what you wanted?" I shouted. "This your plan?" He didn't answer, just smiled, lips torn, blood in his teeth. And that's when I felt it, a presence. Turned, Leah barefoot, standing in the field, pale, still, like a ghost. She looked at me. On top of another man, covered in blood, knuckles raw, breathing hard. "That's not the man who didn't stop them," she said, quiet, flat. Then she turned and walked back toward the house. That line hurt more than the brass knuckles. Ray wheezed below me. "Told you," he coughed. "You always break eventually." I stared at him, then stood, left him on the ground, coughing in the dirt. I didn't even look back. I limped across the pasture, pain trailing behind me like smoke, made it to the porch, collapsed into the chair, didn't cry, didn't curse, just stared at my hands, split knuckles, blood flaking in the creases, fingers trembling. These weren't my hands. These were someone else's. Someone from a lifetime ago, someone I swore I buried. Inside, lights flicked off. One by one, her door closed, the lock clicked, and I sat there, not knowing if it was a goodbye or a barricade. Out on the road, a drone hovered, single red blink in the dark. Walter? He didn't text, didn't say a word, just watched. He'd seen it, all of it. And he didn't interrupt, because he knew. I sat there until the blood on my shirt dried stiff, until my heart stopped racing, until I could finally admit what I didn't want to say out loud. Maybe I wasn't a protector anymore. Maybe I was something worse. They didn't break me, they just took the brakes off. There's something dangerous about a man who stops reacting and starts planning. I stopped reacting after the fight, after Leah looked at me like she didn't recognize the person who came out of that field. After I sat on the porch long enough for the blood to dry and the adrenaline to burn off like smoke off a shell casing. I didn't sleep that night, didn't drink, didn't pace, didn't pray. I just sat in the dark, listening, to the wind shifting through the trees, to the gravel popping under phantom footsteps, to the distant hum of paranoia, finally becoming focus. By sunrise, I wasn't tired. I was clear, not angry, not panicked, cold, clean, surgical. I started with the perimeter, dug out the old ranch schematics, spread them across the barn table, soil conditions, elevation lines, drainage points, fencing integrity, blind corners, access choke points. I'd sketched them years ago, back when this land was for peace. Back when the worst I had to worry about was a busted water line or a coyote sniffing the goats. Now it was a battlefield. I walked the entire fence line with fresh wire, steel core, trip-rigged, silent. Every 20 feet, a bell trigger or bottle cap chime, just enough to announce motion without screaming about it. Every 50, one of Walt's Frankencams made from drone parts, broken iPhones, and righteous paranoia. Each angle covered a new vulnerability. Each step made the land feel less like home, and more like me. Walt showed up before noon, box of sensors under one arm, thermos in the other. The thermos smelled like molasses, gasoline, and spite. "This looks fun," he said, eyeing the grid of wire. "You hunting body armor or mutant raccoons?" "Not hunting anything," I said. "Just making sure I know, before they know I know." He stopped, nodded. No jokes this time. "Attaboy." We walked the North Ridge together, laid 2 more cams, buried one shock sensor inside an old hose nozzle. Walt handed me a custom monitor, field-rigged, heat-calibrated. "Gets more accurate the more paranoid you are," he said. "So basically, you're its spirit animal." I didn't smile, but I grunted. That was enough. Around 3 p.m., a black side-by-side rolled past the main gate. Karen's boys. Ray in the passenger seat, sunglasses on, bruises still visible beneath the mask. They didn't stop, just coasted slow, like they were browsing or measuring. I stepped into the drive, didn't wave, didn't speak, just watched. Ray looked up once, smiled, the same smile from Ghazni, the same one from the punch. The smile that says, "I know your breaking point better than you do." They kept rolling. Leah watched too, from the porch. Blank expression, arms crossed, not afraid. Worse, neutral, like she was calculating whether I was still preparing to protect us, or if I was just preparing to be alone. That night, I started stocking the barn. Water, fuel, radios, dried food. Multi-day redundancies packed tight into labeled bins. Not panic, not chaos. Strategic redundancy, fallback zone. If the house was compromised, I had a plan B. Then D. Walt helped reinforce the door with a steel bar that used to be part of his generator frame. We drilled a laser motion sensor into the upper frame, installed a pressure plate beneath the gravel just outside the east wall. "You're either building a bunker," he said, tightening the last bolt, or prepping for the most aggressive HOA visit in history. "I'm done prepping," I said. "Now I'm calibrating." He didn't smile. "Just promise me one thing." I looked up. "That you're still protecting someone, and not just rebuilding the man you never wanted to be again." I didn't answer. Didn't need to, because that question hit like truth tends to. Quiet, but deep. Leah found me in the barn that night. I was laying out gear I hadn't touched in a decade. Knife, field radio, tactical gloves, old boots, sand still stuck in the laces. Not armor, but not casual. She leaned against the doorway. "You planning to fight a war?" she asked. "Or survive one?" I didn't rush the answer. "I'm planning to end one." She didn't argue, didn't ask how. She just left. Quiet as the first day we met. Before sundown, I walked to the flagpole. The American flag had flown there for years, faded, proud, constant. I lowered it slow, folded it careful, and raised a black strip of cloth I'd kept tucked in a drawer since the day I came home. No symbols, no country, just shadow, a signal only certain people understand. Walt saw it from across the road, whistled. That's the kind of thing that makes people Google you. Later, I shaved, cleaned the wounds, bandaged the ones I could see, and some I couldn't. I stared at the man in the mirror, looking for fatigue, found something else. There's a look men get when they stop hoping for peace and start hunting for it. I saw it in my reflection, and for the first time in years, I didn't look tired. I looked ready. That night, I sat on the porch again, not to rest, to watch. Walt came by around 11, 2 beers, 1 flashlight. A silence that meant something this time. "So," he said, "any thoughts on what happens if Ray comes back?" "He won't come back." "That confident?" "Because if he does..." I looked out at the fence line, still, waiting. "I won't let him leave." Walt cracked his knuckles, sighed. "You used to be scary in a quiet way. Now you're just scary." I didn't smile, didn't flinch. "Good." After he left, I sat with the monitor in my lap. Red blip pinged, just a raccoon. But I didn't exhale, because somewhere out there, Ray was watching. Karen was scheming. And the next time anyone crossed my line, they wouldn't be walking away. This ranch used to be a home, now it's a message. And the next person who steps onto my land gets the full translation. They didn't come at night. That would have been smart. No, they came at 4:37 p.m. on a Wednesday, like it was just another routine HOA house call. And that's what tipped me off. Karen never shows up after dark. She needs an audience, sunlight, visibility, authority. She doesn't want to surprise you. She wants to own you. That's how I knew she was coming before I even saw the dust cloud. I was in the barn, checking the west trip line for false triggers. Then the monitor pinged. Low vibration, sustained, not wind, not wildlife. Too heavy, too steady. 3 dots on the thermal feed, 1 small, 2 large. I tapped Walt's radio. "We're live." "Copy that," he crackled. 2 heavies and a clipboard. "You're about to get audited." Karen, fresh from the salon, marching in like she bought the deed to your bones. I stepped outside. Didn't run, didn't speak, didn't reach for anything. Just waited. Let the gravel crackle under their boots. Ray led the approach. Black vest, visible limp. Swollen eye from our last conversation. Behind him, a new guy, younger, broader, twitching with the kind of energy that screams, wannabe enforcer. And then her. Karen, blonde shellacked into a helmet. Polo shirt pressed flat like a uniform. Sunglasses large enough to reflect her ego. Tablet tucked under her arm like it was a court order. She stopped 3 paces short of the gate. "Mark Ellis," she said. "You are in violation of HOA code sections 12B, 14C, and Emergency Addendum 19F. You're not law enforcement." "No," she replied, voice sugar and vinegar, "but I'm the one who decides what happens next." Ray was already scanning the field. His eyes pinged over the barn, the porch swing, the horses. He looked uneasy. Good. The new guy cracked his knuckles. No awareness, no caution. Rookie. I let the silence stretch, made them wait. Let the wind stir the edge of the tripwire grass. Let the tension bloom. Then, crunch. Ray's boot hit the second gate post. Subtle click beneath the gravel. He didn't notice, but I did. and so did the land. Another click, and then chaos. From every speaker hidden around the property came a wailing storm of broken static and ghosted noise. Walt had layered audio from militia training camps, reversed emergency tones, and distorted foreign commands he pulled from a bootleg Cold War tape. The big guy jumped, hands up, eyes wide. Karen stumbled, dropped her tablet. It hit the dirt with a slap and spun like a coin. Ray flinched, too late. A net ripped up from the gate's edge. Barn pulley, fish line, counterweight. Classic ranch tech with redneck genius. It caught him mid-step, whipped him face first into the gravel. His knee bent sideways. He screamed. Twice. The rookie charged forward. Wrong move. Walt's voice from above. Incoming! A bucket launched from the barn loft. Smashed into his chest like a red tsunami. Cattle deterrent. Fish oil. Hot sauce. He howled. Slipped backward. Hit the gravel. And landed square on one of the tripwires. Boom! Flash can one. White light and an aerosol roar. Boom! 3 more. Staggered. Deafening. Karen dropped to one knee, hands over her ears. Ray rolled. The rookie crawled toward the gate, soaked in misery. I walked forward, boots slow, crunching the gravel like punctuation marks. No rush, no fear, just clarity. Ray looked up, eyes swollen, twitching toward his vest. I stepped on his chest, ground him into the dirt. You crossed the line. You set a trap, he grunted. No, I said. I built a boundary. You chose to ignore it. Karen stood now, shaky, her glasses gone, eyes wild. This is illegal, she snapped. So was punching my wife. She backed up, feet fumbling, voice cracking. This is still HOA land. You're still under our... Not anymore, I cut in. You stepped off your yard. Now you're on mine. She blinked, once, then turned. Fast, almost a stumble. The rookie didn't wait for instructions. He ran, tripped again, this time in a puddle of fish, slime, and fear. Walt climbed down from the barn loft. Cattle prod in one hand, spark plug launcher in the other. Y'all good? Never better. We watched them leave, like trespassers in their own fairy tale. Ray limped so hard he had to lean on the rookie. Karen didn't speak, didn't bark orders, didn't even look back. Just got in the side-by-side and vanished in a cloud of dust and ego. Back in the house, Leah had seen it all, from the kitchen window, hands still, face unreadable. She didn't greet me, didn't say, "What did you rig?" Didn't ask, "How did you know how to do that?" She just looked at my hands, at my boots, at the red stains across my shirt, paint, fish oil, sweat. But it looked like blood. You didn't freeze, she said. No. But you didn't blink either. She looked at me like she was trying to remember who I used to be, and couldn't. Then she turned, left the room, closed the door. Not slammed, not locked, just closed. The way someone closes a chapter, or a vault. I stood there, hands still trembling, chest tight, not with fear, but with the realization that what I'd built wasn't revenge. It was a warning, and not just to them, to me. Karen thought I was the problem. Now she knows I'm the consequence. That was her warning shot. The next one won't be loud, it'll be final. I didn't lose control. I gave it a place to live, and now it's home. I thought the fight was over. After the trap, after Karen ran off looking like she'd lost a mud wrestling match in a seafood dumpster, I thought we'd reach the finish line. I was wrong. They weren't retreating, they were reloading. The knock came at 6:12 a.m. Walter thermos, tablet, a look I hadn't seen since Kandahar. "We've got a problem," he said, "and it's not just a bad Yelp review." He dropped the tablet on the table like it was a live grenade. No explanation, just the play button. I watched it. Didn't blink, didn't breathe. The footage started shaky, distant, but clear enough. Ray tangled in the net. Karen screaming like someone lit her with citronella. Me standing over him, boot on his chest, mouth saying, "You crossed the line." No lead up, no trespassing, no footage of Leah's bruised face, just flash cans yelling, and me looking like a warlord on farmland. My jaw clenched. I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. "They stripped the context," I said. "Made me the villain." "Yeah," Walt said, "and it's working." He pulled up Facebook. Local news outlets. One HOA blog called me the Rancher Rambo. Another post read, "This is why rural people shouldn't be left unsupervised." "They're not fighting you anymore," Walt said. "They're filming you. This is optics warfare now." You think I don't know that? Just making sure you remember. 2 hours later, I watched a local segment on the living room TV. Blonde anchor, bright teeth. This morning, the HOA released official footage showing an ex-military rancher deploying what they call unauthorized tactical force on volunteers. Cut to a neighbor's voice, familiar, warped by a blur. "I used to respect him, but people don't lay traps unless they're planning something worse." At noon, a car rolled up. Courier, official envelope, embossed seal that screamed money and threat. Whittaker, Griggs and Bell, the kind of firm that charges by the breath. I tore the seal and read aloud, "Violation of Code 32C. Aggravated trespass deterrence. Hostile intent toward recognized HOA volunteers." Each line dug deeper. A $75,000 suit, pending civil action. Court date, real, dated, stamped. I dropped the letter on the table like it was contaminated. "They're trying to bankrupt me," I said. Walt didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He sat on the porch rail. "We could fight it digitally," he said. "Raw footage, timestamps, all of it. I can push it through a dozen groups right now." "And what happens when they edit that too?" "You let them keep the mic. You already lost." I didn't answer, because he wasn't wrong. But he wasn't right either. Leah came in around dusk. Didn't speak at first. She watched the replays on the screen, the same 5 seconds again and again. Ray on the ground, my boot on his chest. "You set that trap?" "I protected my land." "Did you?" she said. "Or did you bait them into stepping where you wanted?" I stood. "They assaulted you. And now the world thinks you assaulted them." She raised her voice. "And I'm stuck between a man who let it happen and the man who planned it too well." I didn't respond. Because that line, that one stuck. She stepped back, eyes hard. "You're not the man I married." "Then what am I?" "I don't know, but whoever you are now, you scare me more than they do." She left. This time, she slammed the door. That night, I stayed on the porch. Didn't hold a drink, didn't clean a rifle. Just sat and watched the road. A car was parked half a mile up. Headlights off, engine running. It moved once, rolled forward 5 feet, stopped again. Not HOA, not police, someone else. I stood, no weapon, no threat, just me. And something small in my hand, a flashlight. I clicked it on. 1 flash, 2, 3. A code only Walt and I used. Nothing happened. Then, 1 flash, from the car. They were watching. But now I was too. They didn't come to fight. They came to frame. They took the camera. Now, it's my turn to take the script. They think this is over. They forgot who finishes wars. They thought they broke me. Karen with her press statements, Ray with his footage, the neighbors, the media, the lawyers. They thought they turned me into a punchline. But here's the thing. I don't win by hitting back. I win by erasing your ability to hit at all. I didn't go online, didn't rant, didn't beg for sympathy. I built a case, real, documented, tactical, and this time, I didn't do it alone. Walt handed me a thumb drive the size of my thumbnail. "Everything," he said. "Raw files, timelines, coordinates, 2 audio clips I probably shouldn't have." I sent it to Mia, Leah's cousin, a civil rights attorney who sharpened her teeth on police misconduct cases and bankrupt landlords. I hadn't spoken to her since Leah and I got married. Didn't need to explain, didn't ask for favors. She just replied, "Send the file." 10 minutes later, I had a formal complaint document in my inbox, so sharp it could have taken out a drone mid-flight. We didn't go public. We went legal, filed a preemptive countersuit before their HOA hearing ever took place. 4 key charges: unlawful trespass, false impersonation of law enforcement, use of force under fraudulent authority, defamation via edited materials. Attached, drone footage, hospital records, witness statements, HOA internal documents leaked by someone who clearly hated Karen more than I did. A week later, I walked into county court with Mia beside me. I wore clean boots in silence. Karen's team showed up with 3 lawyers and a clicky pen they never stopped using. The judge barely let them speak. He read our claim, watched 30 seconds of footage, raised his eyebrows. "This should have never gotten to this point," he said. Then he signed a permanent injunction, restraining orders, cease and desist across all HOA enforcement mechanisms. They couldn't send fines. They couldn't send people. They couldn't send anything. 3 days later, Karen resigned, not just from the HOA, from the entire neighborhood. She sold the house. Quiet sale, no goodbye emails, just a moving van and a half-hearted for sale sign that blew over in the wind. Her last message? "You've made your point. Wrong." I didn't make a point. I made a boundary, and this time they knew better than to cross it. Ray? Gone. Deleted from the HOA site. No one answered when Walt called the compliance number just to test the lines. "Looks like the HOA's having a staffing shortage," he said, sipping from a thermos labeled emergency juice. We didn't gloat, didn't brag, just reset the ranch, removed the tripwires, took down the speakers, hung the original American flag back up the pole. Normal, but not the same. That night, Walt sat beside me on the porch. No tension, just dusk. "You used to wait," he said. "Used to freeze." "Yeah. Now you're the guy who draws the line and makes sure no one forgets where it is." "That's supposed to be comforting?" I asked. "Nah, just accurate." We drank in silence. Leah came home later. She stood at the door for a long time, watching the porch, watching me. Then she stepped out, sat down next to me, not close, not far, just there. "Do you ever miss who you were before this?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Then, "No, I think I finally became who I was supposed to be." She didn't argue, didn't leave. That was enough. I didn't need revenge. I needed clarity. I needed order. Not over them, over me. And now, they don't fear me because I fight. They fear me because I stopped fighting and still won.